And that seems to me to have always been the main point, which is that you have to take these people literally and seriously because there's only a couple of ways that the republic falls. And a couple of them have no possibility of happening in the United States. We will never have a Colonel Gaddafi type coup, right? We will not have a junta of colonels. If our democracy falls or is profoundly degraded, it will happen over a successive series of elections, um, beginning in 2024 with Donald Trump being elected, with this plan conceived at the Claremont Institute and at the Heritage Foundation implemented, which really fundamentally disassembles the federal government, destroys the civil service, cronyizes government at a moment in history when it is far larger, more sophisticated than anything could have been conceived in the heyday of Tammany, for instance. And so it will lead to a epic type of corruption that is fully banana Republican as it plays out. But why do you think that the alarm has not reached people as a general proposition in the country in a way that, hey, these guys keep saying that they're going to do this if you vote for them. And there has never been an instance, ever, never in human history, where the people who said, I'm going to lock you up, where I'm going to deport millions of people, where I'm going to open up camps to hold them in, where they didn't do it. I mean, 100% of the time, that people who got elected on that platform promising to take down the democracy along with it, in his case, retribution and revenge. There's exactly zero examples of people saying that were just saying it for show. They all mean it. And there seems to be an incapacity in the country to appreciate that the person saying these things, who may be elected within a year, means them very sincerely.
There's several factors. One factor dates back to Ronald Reagan. It's the minimization of the importance of government. It's 40 years of hearing that government is the problem, not the solution. And a lot of people out there, because they've heard this, don't think it matters very much what happens in Washington. Don't take it as seriously as they should. Another factor is ignorance. A lot of people either don't care to know, or they listen to information sources that describe the world not as it is, but as a bunch of ideologues would like you to see it. And so they're in this Fox News, information system, and so they don't have the truth at their disposal. There's another group that's angry at the world and wants to lash out and thinks that, Trump and these others are going to finally strike back at the elites and the others who they resent because they think better lives than they are. And I think we could probably find some other explanations for this, including among evangelicals, a desire that there is, or a sense that God wants them to pursue a particular path. That their particular religious beliefs say, even though this man who is leading us is deeply flawed, if he bans abortion, if he bans gay sex, if he does the things that are aligned with our religious tenets, that he is serving the mission of our God. And so you've got, when you take all these groups, tens of millions of people, 30% of the US electorate, maybe it's 40% of the US electorate. And when you have that, you all of a sudden become within striking distance of seizing power. And power itself is an aphrodisiac. There are plenty of Republicans, plenty of people who in 2015, 2016 said that Trump, he is dangerous.
All of them.
But if he offers me a good enough job, I can fix it. Let me into the government. And they sort of went along with it. They validated it. One of the great shocking stories, I mean, of the past 10 years is that the Republican establishment just sat on their hands. Where was the Bush family in all of this? Now you have Liz Cheney out there as a voice, and more power to her. But there was this kind of, well, let's see how this goes. And so all these forces together create the kind of situation where you can have this guy come in who has no ideology. He's a narcissist. All he cares about is himself. He doesn't believe America should be X or Y or Z. He doesn't care. He believes America should serve his interests. He sees it through the eyes of somebody who's deeply psychologically disturbed and sees all of us as supporting characters in his movie. And that, it's kind of the most disturbing thing of all, because his worldview is so warped, and his sense of that public service is so negligible that he has no sense of obligation to the people. He believes the people are obligated to him.
All of those things that you just said, I mean, are, from my perspective, indisputably true and inarguable. Here's my question. Why is he beating the Democrats right now? Why is he winning? And he is winning. If the election were tomorrow, he would win the election. Why is he winning? Why is this movement better organized, better funded, and more dangerous today than it was on January 6th, in your view? And I think it's incontestable that it is.
Well, I think he's certainly very strong. And I think we could have an interesting debate about whether he's winning or he's competitive. But he's either within striking distance of winning or he's winning. I mean, so this is a moot point, really, because we've got to ask, given that all these things are incontestable, how could that happen? And I think, you've got the support of these groups. You've got the weakness of the other leadership within the Republican Party towards this. And I think there is a kind of almost a sense of inevitability that has settled in over the Republican Party with regard to this race. And perhaps some of it has to do with the fact that he's a nasty piece of work and that he could win. And if he could win and he's a nasty piece of work, he can really do some damage to the people who oppose him. And I think there are some people who are just afraid. I think some of it has to do with the fact that Democrats have not come at him as strongly, as regularly, in as targeted a way as they should. Now, part of that, I give credit to President Biden, right? He said, no, I'm going to govern. I'm going to do a good job. I think ultimately that's going to work. And if you talk to the people close to him, they'll say it worked the first time. He beat Trump the first time. It gets him across the line with certain swing groups of voters that will ultimately lead him to prevail. Being a good president matters. Um, and while I think that may be true, and we've seen Democrats outperform opinion polls for the past several years for a variety of reasons that don't really have to do directly with Trump or Biden, have to do with things like Roe v. Wade. Um, and that may continue. Uh, the stakes are so high. The stakes are so high here that it's 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 critical that um, the campaign against Trump, the double-barreled campaign in every battleground state, to convince voters that they will lose democracy, that they will lose fundamental rights, that they will not be able to marry who they want or buy a contraceptive or have certain kinds of health care or have the freedom to um, listen to dissenting points of view or perhaps ever again participate in an election. That's got to be brought home in a way that it's not happening right now. And to me, that's where the urgency is, particularly in Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin and Arizona and New Mexico and Georgia and North Carolina and the states that we would determine as battleground states. Because we've seen what happened. We saw what happened in 2016. We saw 70,000 people be the difference between having a sensible, effective president and having a lunatic as president. And we also saw third party candidates back then. I mean, in places like Michigan, Jill Stein got enough votes that had they gone to Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump wouldn't have been president. And we've got this phenomenon now where you've got, Robert F. Kennedy and you've got Jill Stein and you've got Cornel West and you may or may not have no labels. And that's, those are really, really frightening things.